The Unofficial Bengals Podcast would like to welcome Cincinnati Bengals offensive lineman Billy Price. Billy, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Long day. Had football in the morning. Got home about 12:30. Had another meeting at 2:30. Got another one at 5. So it's been a busy day for me.
Wow. Yeah, I hear you. I don't want to take up too much of your time because I want you to get ready for the season so you guys can kick some butt. One of my favorite things to do during the quarantine was to go onto your Instagram story and check out the stuff that you were grilling. You had some nasty stuff on there. I mean, ribeyes. You were sauteing mushrooms in a cast iron skillet. Really made me jealous a lot of times. But for real, what's your favorite item to grill?
For me personally, probably the beef tenderloin. Just the beef tenderloin, the cut itself is super tender, and if you do it right, I mean, it just literally melts in your mouth. I did one right before the whole training camp started, and then because it was too big, I gave a couple pieces to my neighbor, so he's getting the fruits of my labor when it comes to some of the things that we've cooked. So it's been good. We've been eating well.
Yeah, you set the bar high, man. When I'm grilling, I'm like, would Billy Price approve? So, that's the new standard.
I was saying, that's the standard? Yeah, I mean, Jeff Ruby ain't got nothing.
All right, so let's get on to some football stuff. What was your training routine during quarantine?
My wife and I, and my dogs all were down in Dallas, Texas, training with Duke Manyweather. And, everybody was talking about the hot spots down there in Texas with COVID, but you know what? The show had to continue to go on down there. Duke's had a setup during the beginning part of the quarantine where, the gyms, even down in Dallas, Texas, were shut down. He had a setup in his garage. We were able to do movements and different types of things to get us by before we were able to get back into the gym, but things worked very, very well. I was down there for 3 weeks when we were in his garage, and it was, a good situation because everything here in Ohio was shut down. So it had just been me in my garage or me in the basement, doing what I could. So having that resource down there in Texas it gave me an advantage that, you have to take advantage of and spend the time down there.
That's great that you were able to do that. Yeah, with everything closed, I was wondering how you guys were going to stay in shape, but I know that the dedicated players were not going to let that be a barrier. And obviously you made the trip down to Texas to make that happen. So that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, 13 hours one way. So trust me, my wife, she's a godsend. 13 hours one way, and we went to Texas 3 different times. So a pretty crazy amount of hours while we were driving.
Yeah, that's some dedication. Guys get to know each other a little bit better on those trips, I imagine.
Hey, the marriage came out of quarantine a lot stronger than what I went into it. So it's all good.
It's rare. I was arguing with my girl like crazy, so you're a rare exception there. All right, let's get on to some of the early days of football for you. So I did some research. I saw that you were a dominant defensive lineman at Fitch High School. At what point did you decide to focus on offense?
So that wasn't until my freshman year of Ohio State. Coach Vrabel, Mike Vrabel, the head coach of the Tennessee Titans right now, he was a defensive line coach and very, very intense coach. It was probably 3rd or 4th day of training camp on a double and on a 2-a-day, excuse me. And it was just a situation. I was getting my ass kicked, and I just looked at him. And I knew it wasn't going to work out. So I had a meeting with Coach Meyer and said to him, I said, I think I need to change positions. Otherwise, I don't think I'm going to make it. And Coach Meyer was like, all right, cool, done, boom. Switched me over the next day with the offensive line. And the rest has been history. I had a great center to understudy under, which was Corey Lindsey, the guy who is the starter for the Green Bay Packers right now, and just a phenomenal, like-minded guy, very intellectual. And he was actually from Youngstown, Ohio, where I'm from, so he went to the rival high school, Boardman, and it was a really, really good situation, good culture in the offensive line room, and something that was a great foundation for me to grow.
You ended up making a good move, obviously, because you went on to start 55 games, first-round draft picks. So it was good self-awareness to say at that point, you know what, maybe defense isn't going to be my ticket, and switching to offense seemed to be the best move. And up to this point, it really has worked out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when did you recognize, at what point in your life, going through high school, college, what was that moment where you said, hey, you know what, I have a shot at making the NFL?
For me, it didn't happen until later in college. Probably going into my junior year, just being dominant against some players. I remember playing DeForest Buckner and Eric Armstead. I was redshirt freshman in the national championship game when we played Oregon, and it was, those are some dominant defensive guys, and you hold your own and you do pretty well against some of them, and you're just like, wow, I could do this. And then you get around the coaches at Ohio State, and spring balls are not. It's not a slouch time at Ohio State. It is full throttle, pedal to the metal, and you got to get better and you have to develop. So going into my junior year, I was playing right guard. I got transitioned from left guard to right guard, and it felt natural. And so you just continue to put the work in, and then you see the guys who have gone on before you and say, I want to chase that. I want to be that guy. I want to be a guy who goes, first round pick, have my name all over the Ohio State facilities and aspire, the dreams that young boys have. I want to make sure I'm living it. So it was just a great, it was really, really cool. And again, if you've ever been to Ohio State's facilities, there's constant reminders everywhere you go of the greatness and the excellence that's around you. Orlando Pace, Taylor Decker, LaCharles Bentley, Nick Mangold. I mean, some of the offensive line, Corey Stringer, some of these offensive line greats that have gone on before us, they're all over the building. Each position group's got its own, little section. But the Lombardi winners, the Remington winners, the Heisman Trophy winners, et cetera, they're all over the facilities. So it's just one of those situations that you're just constantly, you're putting yourself in a great environment to strive to be the best. And that was something that, really, really, it hit home my junior year for me.
Wow. All right. That's excellent. Yeah. I can see being in an environment like that where you're surrounded by inspiration. It would inspire you to be the best you can be. Mm-hmm. So, all right, let's move on now. So 2020 begins, and you have Coach Taylor, Coach Callahan, and they say, all right, Billy, here's the playbook for 2020. And I know you're familiar with some of the stuff from years before, but what's the thought process? Like, how do you absorb and learn an entire NFL playbook? What's your methodology?
For me, is try to assimilate things you've known prior and replace that with the current term or the new knowledge. Just off of rip right now, just off the new stuff that we're doing right now. After having, this is going into my third season, that after having that initial knowledge, because my rookie year, I really struggled with the playbook and understanding how how some of these operations and why, linebackers respond to the running back different under center versus in the gun, et cetera. And, some of these different tendencies, it makes it difficult like that first year because you're just trying to keep your head above water. But going into your second and your third year, you really just assimilate the new stuff to what you already have known and have done in the past. And it just makes it just very, very easy. It's, we always use the term, the first time you do quarterback center exchange, and it's just like riding a bike. And that's the analogy we always constantly use. It's like, oh, okay, you get back in, we're on our, third day, and it's just like riding a bike.
Interesting. Okay. So take us through the time from when you break huddle to the time you line up, whether you're playing center or guard. So in other words, you guys break the huddle, you're walking up to the line. What's going on inside your head? What are you looking for? How does that whole 5-second moment in time come across?
So the first thing is you got to understand personnel. Personnel's unlocked tendencies in the NFL. Understanding who's in, base, nickel, odd, dime personnel, all these different personnel groupings that respond to your offensive personnel groupings unlock those tendencies. And then with the film study in the week prior to the game, you're able to kind of pick up those things and give yourself little cues and little hints that remind you of, hey, this might be coming. So personnel, you obviously get your split, get your alignment, depending on what the play is, whatnot, and then kind of see what the alignment of the defense is. See where the linebackers are. See first where the defensive linemen are lining up. Do you have a 3 technique? Do you have a 2? Do you have a shade? Do you have a 0? 4-eye even? And then, okay, after that, where's the linebackers? And then if you're playing center, sometimes you're looking at rotation. Sometimes you're looking at safeties. If we're in a certain formation, is it a man zone tell? And then depending on those tendencies, how does that relate to what your job is and what you're doing? So it's just it's an interesting process, but it's like all that stuff has to happen in 5 seconds.
Yeah, I know. That's the crazy part. That's why I asked you, because the common person doesn't realize how intense of a moment that is when you guys are walking to the line. And you know what gets forgotten in all that is, what about the snap count? Like, you're thinking about all these complex things. It almost seems like it would be fairly easy to forget the snap count.
Yeah, I could tell you that we did that today at practice, actually. You're starting to, you overanalyze these things, and all of a sudden you're just like, oh shit, what was the snap count? And all right, I'm just going to take a guess and say it was on one. But no, and that, with Joe Burrow back at quarterback right now, things are really, really good. You can have that conversation, and you can have that conversation with Andy. It's just like, hey, hold on a second. What's the count? And they're able to communicate that with you without tipping it off to the defense. So it's a good situation, but it is a lot to comprehend and a lot to digest within 5 seconds.
Yeah, I totally give you credit for that. All right, let's go through a typical game day for Billy Price. So,
Okay.
what time do you get up? What do you eat? What are your pregame rituals? What do you do postgame? Do you watch NFL games late at night when you get home? Like, what is a game day for you?
So for me, so Sam Hubbard and I are actually travel roommates, which is kind of cool, two Ohio State guys. So for me, if we're on a home game, I usually get up about 6:30. I drive home to the wife, fall asleep for another hour and a half, 2 hours, wake up, make breakfast, and then you got to be at the stadium. I think it's by 10 a.m. So get to the stadium, and then for me, it's just continue to start to warm the body up, open, your joints, ligaments, stretch out a little bit, and then just really kind of focus on what your priorities are in that game, what your responsibilities, one last time over the tendencies. So it's not like hey, let's go digest a lot of material, because if you have to do that on game day, you're already behind. That's not a really good feeling to have. And I've done it before, where you walk in and you're 10 minutes before and you're kind of like, oh shoot, I don't know what's going to happen on this play, or what should I expect on this. It's not a very confident feeling. Go through the game, take care of business, do what you got to do, and then leave the stadium usually. And then, most days down here in Cincinnati, it's either cold or it's bad weather. So my wife is usually at home, and Sundays are her meal days. So she's always cooking up something really good.
See, when you get home from the game, there's something good to look forward to, I imagine
Mm-hmm.
then.
Yep, and then usually again 1 o'clock game, and then usually somebody's playing prime time, and it's on, the TV's on, and depending on who it is, it might be background noise, it might be actually watching it. I've got some friends on some other teams, and guys I've trained with now this past off season on other teams, so it'll be a little bit more intriguing to see who's playing who and how my guy's playing. So it'll be fun this year to watch other games around the league.
Gotcha. Yeah, I watch the Bengal games exclusively, but I do check out the other games, obviously. It's just a great sport.
Mm-hmm.
Since you came into the NFL, who's been your biggest influence, whether it's a player, a coach? Who would you give credit to at this point?
To my rookie year, I got to give a lot of credit to Frank Pollock. Frank Pollock was our offensive line coach that drafted me, and he was with Travis Frederick, the center for the Dallas Cowboys back in the day. And he really just he tried to continue to elevate my game and set the standard at a very high level, similar to what Travis's was down in Dallas. Going into my other years is, you really start watching guys around the league and try to emulate and do some of the same things that they do in their game. But the biggest thing is you got to make sure that that person you're watching really is the same type of body type and moves the same way. Otherwise, that's like me watching Zach Martin. I can't do what Zach Martin does. So it's a little bit more difficult, but just continue to work your game, work your craft, and find somebody who can set a better standard than what you have right now.
That makes sense. Yeah, you want to compare apples to apples. I didn't really think about the part of having different body types. You got to, that does factor in. So excellent point. All right, so we're going to wrap it up, and I want to ask a couple quick rapid fire questions. So, what's been your favorite NFL moment so far?
First time I got my name called, introduction, first game. One of those moments. It's chilling. I know. I remember running out there, and I believe our first game. I just remember the day. It was against the Ravens in prime time. AJ Green had like 2 or 3 touchdowns. We won big, but I actually got hurt. But it's still that game, running out there, your face all over the billboard, fans cheering, etc. It's just it's chilling. It was a moment that I'll never forget.
Excellent. I'm glad that you got a chance to live that. So what were your favorite teams growing up? So for me, I'm a Bengal fan. I like the Yankees in baseball. I like the Cavaliers, and I like the Sabres. There's in hockey. So there's probably not a lot of people that have those same 4 teams. I like to ask that to people. Who were your 4 growing up?
Man, I heard you say, as soon as you said Yankees, your accent changed a little bit. Baseball. Yeah.
I am a Jersey guy.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense then. So, I mean, I've said it before, and I know Bengal fans will crucify me for it, but grew up a Pittsburgh fan. I'm from Youngstown, Ohio. It's an hour away from Pittsburgh. My hometown to Cincinnati is 4.5 hours. So regionally,
Gosh.
I regionally grew up a Pittsburgh fan. Game was always on Sunday. My stepfather was from Pittsburgh. Baseball, Yankees fan as well. I was a big Gary Sheffield fan. Before I started playing football, I told myself I was going to be in the MLB. So I was always watching Derek Jeter, watching Gary Sheffield. And that swing, his swing and just wiggling that bat was something that was just like, all right, maybe, one day that'll be me. And then you always see him go yank one over left field. It was pretty cool. Hockey, I didn't get into hockey until probably college, and that was the Blue Jackets just because they're down the street from us. And then basketball, I was a Cavs fan, but I'm really a LeBron fan. He's one of the greatest athletes of our time. He's an elite competitor. His mindset, the way he does things, that's people like that are who you try to emulate at the professional level, just because again, their bodies are always taken care of. They're doing the right things in the media, the communities, and especially LeBron being from Northeast Ohio. He's been with the same, his wife, his kids, all upstanding people, and it's just great to see local people have great things come to them, and LeBron has done everything he's worked for.
Yeah, and even to the non-athlete, LeBron is someone to look up to without a doubt. And
Mm-hmm.
it's ironic. I mean, well, now you're a Bengal fan. You're not a Pittsburgh fan anymore. You can't be. So Bengals, Yankees, and Cavs, we're pretty close to a 4-for-4 with me there.
Yeah, pretty close. But I will say too, it was pretty cool playing at Heinz Field my rookie year. That was one of those moments. I've never been to an NFL game, never, until I started playing. But then you start seeing, Renegade starts going, and my rookie year we were playing them like it was like a 4 o'clock game or something like that. It was like late at night, and again the stadium lights all flicker and everything. And I was like, I always used to see this on TV, but to be a part of it, it's surreal. So, not that it's a fandom, but it is a pretty cool moment.
Oh, yeah, that would be like me playing outfield in Yankee Stadium. It would be a great moment just to be there. Yeah. All right, last question. What's your favorite thing to do outside of football?
Not talk about football.
Oh, so I'm actually infringing on that.
No, actually, so for me, I like cars. I'm a big car guy. And then I've got my 2 dogs, and my wife, obviously. So it's whatever. Like for me, once I come home, especially during the week during practice, it's always all right, let's go take the dogs for a walk, just to kind of clear the mind, just relax the body, even though you're walking and you might be going up a hill or whatnot. But it's you separating from your job, and I think that's huge for me. And I've learned this in the off season: is mentally put yourself in a better place, whatever that thing may be. I always joke my wife's car is in better shape than mine because again, I enjoy cars, detailing, stuff like that. The dogs are well exercised. We take them on a walk about a mile or so every day. We try to every day, I should say that. And then again, I purchased a drone too. So like just flying, seeing what's going on, taking pictures and some things. It's been fun to figure out what those niches are and what those things to take your mind away from the game and take your mind away from work. So it's been really, really cool. So it's mentally refreshing.
Excellent. Well, it seems like you have a good approach to everything. I even saw that you and your wife use natural cleaning products now instead of stuff with chemicals. I made the switch in my household too. So you're a higher thinker, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's been a long time coming. I can tell you that. I was like, if you saw who I was 3 years ago in my rookie year, I mean, it's night and day over time, and you really figure out like what matters, and hey, can I be a better person here, or like you said, natural, organic cleaning chemicals and whatnot. And my wife's always like, oh, it's better for the dogs if they lick it. And I'm like, all right, well, you're tugging on my heartstrings, so I guess we got to do it.
Well, great stuff. I really appreciate you coming down. I wish you a great season, great health. Just remember, every snap, I'm going to be right there with you guys, man. I cannot wait.
Oh, trust me, I can tell you, give you a little inside hit. It's going to be, it's exciting. Everybody's healthy. Everybody's healthy.
Love it, man. Thanks again, Billy.
Absolutely, Frank.